You know, it's kind of funny. Jesus talks about money a lot. But when you really dig into what he's saying, you see he's not so much worried about what's in your bank account. He's way more interested in the posture of your heart. See, the real issue isn't having wealth, it's about what you truly treasure. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at that core command. Then, we'll get into the heart of the matter, literally. After that, we'll talk about being stewards instead of owners, check out 4 solid reasons to rethink things, and wrap it all up with a big question for you and me. So, let's start at the beginning with this foundational command from Jesus. He lays it out pretty clearly for his followers. He says, hey, don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth. Right off the bat, he's setting up this choice, this tale of 2 treasures, if you will. And man, the contrast he paints is just stark. On one hand, you've got earthly treasure. You know, the stuff that moths can eat, rust can destroy, and thieves can just straight up steal. But then on the other hand, he talks about heavenly treasure. And this stuff, it's totally secure, it's eternal, it's not going anywhere. I mean, he's basically screaming, this one is the better long-term investment. Now, this is super important to get right. This isn't Jesus saying, go be poor or that wealthy people are bad. Not at all. I mean, think about all the incredible good that's been done in the world by godly people with resources. The warning is so much more subtle. It's about not letting money and stuff become your ultimate treasure, the thing your heart is really chasing. And this right here, this leads us to what might be the most profound line in the whole discussion. It's this direct, unbreakable link he makes between our finances and, well, our hearts. See, this isn't just a simple observation like, oh, look at your credit card statement and you'll see what you care about. No, it's an active principle. It's like a magnetic pull. Whatever you treasure, wherever you pour your time, your energy, your money, that thing is actively pulling your heart, your loyalty, your affections right toward it. I heard this perfect story that illustrates this. So a friend of a theologian finally goes out and buys his dream car, an $80,000 BMW. A week later, a bus scrapes the hood. Bummer, right? So people ask him, hey, when are you going to get that fixed? And his answer was, never. He chose to drive that beautiful, expensive car with a big old dent in it as a daily reminder to himself, don't let this thing own you. Don't let it pull your heart to the ground. So what does this look like in the real world today? Well, here's a number for you. The average giving to churches in America is just 2.2%. Now think about that for a second. In the Old Testament, God asked for a minimum of 10% from a poor farming culture. 2.2%? It kind of makes you wonder, where are our hearts being pulled? Okay, so if we're not supposed to be hoarding earthly treasure, then how in the world are we supposed to store up heavenly treasure? What does that even mean? Well, the answer requires this just massive shift in how we see everything. It's about moving from a mindset of ownership to one of stewardship. The author Randy Alcorn has this quote that just nails it. We've all heard this saying, right? You can't take it with you. It's true. You never see a hearse pulling a U-Haul. But Alcorn adds this little twist that changes everything. He says, you can't take it with you, but you can send it on ahead. Wow. And that is the key to the whole thing. Storing up heavenly treasure isn't something that just happens. It's not passive. It's an active process. It's about taking everything God has given you, your money, sure, but also your time, your talents, your influence, all of it, and intentionally using it, deploying it for a purpose that's way bigger than just you. Dr. Mounce actually breaks this down into a really simple 3-step framework. Step 1, realize that everything you have, it's not actually yours. It all belongs to God. Step 2, that means we're not owners, we're managers, we're stewards. And step 3, our job as managers is to use what we've been given to advance the owner's goals. Okay, let's make this super practical with an analogy. Imagine you give a FedEx driver a check for a huge amount of money. And you tell him, look, I need you to deliver this to my kids, but hey, take a little slice for yourself as a tip. The rest, though, that's for them. His job is clear, right? He's just the delivery guy, the steward of your money. So, what would you do if you found out he just took the whole check, went to the bank, and kept it all for himself? You'd be livid, right? Well, that's the point. In this analogy, we are the FedEx guy. God gives us all these resources, and he's cool with us using some for ourselves, but he expects us to deliver the rest for his purposes. The takeaway is so simple. We're supposed to be conduits, not containers. You know, Jesus doesn't just drop this command on us and walk away. He's a master teacher. He actually gives 4 incredibly compelling, just plain logical reasons why making earthly wealth your main goal is frankly a terrible life strategy. So here are his 4 main points. 1. Earthly stuff just doesn't last. 2. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart's going to be. 3. If you try to focus on 2 things at once, you'll end up spiritually blind. And 4, you can't serve 2 masters. It just doesn't work.
The first reason is just common sense. It's simple math, really. Earthly treasures fade. The missionary Jim Elliot put it so perfectly when he said, "He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose." I mean, think about that. Trading something you know you're going to lose anyway for something you know you'll keep forever? That's not a hard decision. That's the smartest trade in the history of the world.
Okay, reason number 2, the very desire to get rich, the pursuit of it, opens up this whole can of worms. It brings new temptations, what the Bible calls foolish and harmful desires. It's like a downward spiral. And this is so true that it led the theologian Gordon Fee to ask this really sharp question. Given all the traps that come with wealth, why would anyone even want to be rich? The chase itself is a trap. And that constant pull we talked about, it creates a divided focus. Your vision gets blurry. Jesus says it leads to spiritual darkness. And all of this builds to his final mic drop, non-negotiable point. You have to choose. You can't serve 2 masters. You just can't. An attempt to serve both God and money will always fail, because in the end, you're going to love one and hate the other. All right, so we've gone through all of this. What's the bottom line? What are we supposed to do with all this? Let's bring it home. The goal is this idea of a blessed detachment. It's not about hating money or possessions. It's about your posture. It's about holding everything loosely with an open hand. So instead of being a reservoir constantly trying to fill up and accumulate more, you become a channel, a river, allowing it to flow through you to accomplish God's purposes in the world. And so that leaves us with the one question that cuts through everything else. It's the only one that really matters. We know that our treasure has this magnetic pull on our hearts, on our loyalty, on our affections. So the question for you and for me is simple. Where is your treasure pulling your heart today?